This fucking
Traitor. No.
David, if we had the traitor video on hand, oh, that'd be good.
Oh god. No. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin our show, we would like to make a very important announcement in regards to future podcasts moving forward. Bummer, but you know it's all right.
We're all good.
So, yeah, we're all good. Basically, news revolves around Carson. He's fine.
What happened to Carson, Nathan? Did he pass away? No, he's fine. Perfectly
Is he
fine.
safe? Is he all
safe?
right? Yes. We would advise anybody watching to tune into the next Hyperspace Hype, where he will be making his final appearance. Because as it stands, Carson is stepping down on his own accord from the podcast due to personal life reasons. You know, he just it's a bit much at the time. So as a main official co-host, he is going to be resigning. Doesn't mean he won't make future appearances here and there whenever he be down or free. It's just as an official big three. The big three is now a big two.
Exactly. Yeah, as a consistent podcaster, he's not going to be as consistent from here on in. We said it at the beginning of the year. Like, we had a lot of things we want to do this year, like in terms of like a lot of My Cup of Teas, as we're doing today, Hyperspace Hype. There's a number of different commentaries we haven't even got to this year. So it's a lot. Carson's going through a lot of things, grad school, school stuff, personal reasons, outside of school stuff. We totally understand that. You got to do what's best for your health, what's best for your time, and live life the best you can. So yeah, not going to be here as much as you can, but we're going to move on. We're going to do our best. The big two, we got this.
We're going to live on. We're going to survive. Today, we celebrate our Independence Day.
Nice. Commentary, Independence Day.
Hey. But yeah, Carson will be on Hyperspace Hype for one final official appearance to say his piece and say his goodbyes. Oh, no. What a sad sentence.
I know, geez.
But yeah, it's been great because, I mean, Carson's been a co-host across all three of the main podcasts, whether it's commentaries, My Cup of Tea, or Hyperspace Hype, for a little over 3 years now, and combined easily over 200 shows. He's done his time. He did his waiting.
He did his waiting.
12 years of it.
It's crazy. We've done a lot. We've reminisced a couple of times on air, off air. Like, we've done a lot of podcasts. We started really with The Mandalorian season 1. And that was all the way in, what was it, 2019. Is now 2023, and we've been doing podcasts for a very long time, and things change, priorities change, so it's perfectly normal, perfectly natural, and we respect his obligations and his wishes.
Absolutely. I stand by my theory that he just didn't want to do the MCU commentaries. But
does anybody?
Come on. Come on, Evan.
One of these days, 2027, we'll do.
I'm going to break out the wheel and spin it.
Oh, no. When the X-Men come in, we'll do an MCU commentary.
That's so far. That might be after Secret Wars. I don't know.
Oh, geez. Maybe. But yeah, let's continue on.
Yes. All right. Well,
it doesn't get any happier, actually, because
it kind of dampens. Do we start with the rebirth?
Where do we? Let's do that. Actually, let's do a little of a backwards thing. Because usually we do Last of Us, and then dig into some news. But Last of Us was fantastic, very emotional. But there's been a bigger, not bigger, but a wider encompassing news drop that happened this week. As we all knew, our last episode, we talked about next week, there will be a DC slate dropping from James Gunn, Peter Safran, about the next couple of years in DC. We gave our predictions. We said, Superman is going to be the obvious one. But besides that, what else are we going to get? Are we going to get a mix of James Gunn's, wacky, crazy ideas with some core ideas? And we're kind of right on the money for that one. But then there's some other super great surprises that I loved. Something to come to iffy about, but I'm always hopeful with James Gunn. People always like to say it, and it gets like it's pretty cliche now, but he made Talking Raccoon a household name. So I have all the faith in the world for James Gunn, and this slate is very exciting. I gave it like a 9 out of 10. Super great.
It's pretty.
It's pretty.
Pretty damn impressive. And it's also to keep in mind that this is not the entire first chapter going forward. This is only some of it, according to James.
Exactly. Yes. And Nathan, what is the name of this chapter?
Chapter 1, not phase, chapter, is called Gods and Monsters, which I don't know about you. I thought about the Dark Universe.
Oh no, I didn't even think of the Dark Universe.
I did.
Oh man, that was a movie. It had one movie, or basically two if you count Dracula Untold, if that was ever a thing.
No, they didn't count it. They were like, let's do it. Oh, let's do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah, the Mummy. The Mummy came out, and poor Tom Cruise destroyed the. universe.
Frankenstein, baby.
I never saw it, Frankenstein.
I think I saw it, but I didn't retain it.
Nice.
It was on Blu-ray. It was a Blu-ray 3D.
Blu-ray 3D. Oh. For Blu-ray 3D, do they come with glasses? How does that work?
No, it comes with like a Blu-ray 3D disc, and you have to already have a 3D TV that comes with glasses.
Oh, interesting.
They don't really sell 3D TVs anymore. So I'm very confused about this news of Avatar releasing a Blu-ray 3D, because how are you going to watch it?
Yeah, 3D TV is interesting. So you just click on something and it turns into 3D. Oh,
I think it's just already the disc. It's funny, that's originally before the Disney Plus deal with IMAX. The only way you could watch the expanded aspects at home on home media was through the Blu-ray 3Ds.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't have those, so I was like, please.
But yeah, Gods and Monsters was super fascinating. I kind of like this. It kind of makes sense given what we're going to be seeing from this first slate. But Gods and Monsters is very cool. Like you said, them doing chapters instead of phases, a little bit of differentiating from the MCU to the DCU. And I think I liked James Gunn's, whole reveal, what he had to say in general. Should we pull something up for the viewers?
Well, James has a whole comprehensive video he released.
Yeah, let me pull that up.
Thanks, Carson.
You're welcome. I was like, oh shit. I'm the guy. I'm
gonna start pulling my weight of taking show notes.
I typed in James Gunn. I said everything else was like I typed in James and it was like James Gunn. What a guy.
Type DC. Well, I don't know. That's kind of tricky. What did I type to find it? DC.
While I pull this up, I like how James has been not calling out like in a mean way, but just hyping up a lot of the comics and the inspiration that he's been having for these for these upcoming movies. It's really cool. Like All-Star Superman, Supergirl of Tomorrow, that kind of stuff is very cool. Okay, here we go.
Figure we could let him talk a topic, and then we'll give a little thoughts on it, and then let him go to the next one.
Sure. Am I sharing it yet?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
It looks to be muted though.
Oh, you want to hear what he has to say?
Just so kind of over here.
Asshole. Not you, James. I'm not talking about. I'm kidding. I love James. He's a great guy. Okay. Here we go.
So, as you know, he did it filming. It's one of
Peter Safran, people not involved.
That the characters are consistent.
Is this a good volume?
Yeah.
Actors, and it works in one story. If Matt Reeves' Batman or Todd Phillips' Joker or Teen Titans Go, that is labeled as DC Elseworlds.
I like that. I like that. First off, Elseworlds.
Well,
you hear me?
I think the video is buffering. It's cutting out a lot for me.
Oh, is it
I'm looking
buffering
at
for
the
you?
live stream. It wasn't buffering, it was skipping. Like freezing up.
Oh.
And I'm checking the live stream and it looks like it was doing it there as well.
Oh no.
Should
I didn't
do I
realize
dare?
that.
Do I dare attempt?
Let me see. Let me take away some tabs real quick. Let me stop sharing. Yeah.
Carson.
Did it buffer last time we did? I stared at the screen.
Not to that degree.
Interesting.
And I think it like ended up picking itself back up. I don't think we ever done it live.
We never shared the screen live? I thought we did last time. Oh, when we did the Ant-Man trailer?
Yeah, did you share it?
I thought I did, right?
Oh.
Or at least the second one.
Okay, yes. That seemed to be fun.
Yeah, we did that one when Carson wasn't here as well. Okay, here we go again. Hopefully it doesn't buffer. Yeah, you tried buffering for me too. Okay. Let's hope this goes well. Oh wait, before I start again, what do you have to say about Elseworld before we start?
Interesting aspect. A little bummed that
oh yeah, because
isn't the Batman.
Yeah,
he's the Batman, but he's not the Batman.
Yeah, I'm happy about it. You know, as I said last week, I like that Matt Reeves is cooking on the other side of the DC universe, doing his own thing. Hopefully, having a trilogy, maybe even more. But I think Pattinson wants to do a trilogy and just call it a day. 2025 October. What did they say? October 11th or 3rd? I think it's like early October, 2025. Which is a bit longer. I thought it was going to come out next year. I was kind of hoping for just an every other year kind of thing, but you know, we can't have everything. But yeah, so I think, and Matt Reeves said, I think like earlier in January that he was, or December, that he was still writing the script. He's still doing a lot of the script, so probably going to finish the script around the summertime, you know, pre-production, and then start filming late this year, early next year for an October release date. So the new DC basically starts in 2025, as we'll get to with the Superman movie. But okay, let's dive into this a bit more here. Hopefully it doesn't buffer.
Now, Peter got pretty lucky in terms of the 4 projects that are coming out over the next year. First, we have Shazam, Fury of the Gods. Shazam has always been off kind of in his own part of the DCU, so he connects very well. That moves directly into The Flash, a fantastic movie that I really loved. That resets the entire DC universe.
Okay, is it still buffering?
The voice isn't, which is good, but the picture.
Oh, the video is weird. Well, at least the voice part is the most important part.
True. Let me see if I can share it.
Okay, but yeah, this is the weird part about his. Let me stop sharing. The weird part about his comments, like, you know, he kind of has to address the elephant in the room in terms of like the 4 movies that are coming out this year, the Shazam of it all, the Aquaman, the Flash, the Blue Beetle of it all. So he has to address those before diving into his movies. Sure. But the weird elephant in the room is like, how connected are these to Chapter 1? We have Shazam coming out, and I think Shazam is done. I think, regardless of Zachary Live's comments over the weekend, sure. Out of context, in context, whatever he's talking about, weird guy. I think Zachary is done as Shazam. I think everybody in the DC universe is done as their characters. Even Aquaman to an extent, like, because I know people are saying, like, you know, they want to do an Aquaman 3 eventually. I think Peter Safran said that. I think a lot of these words are corporate talk. I think a lot of these things coming out where they're like, you know, Gal Gadot can still reprise her role, Ezra Miller can still reprise their role, Jason Momoa can still reprise his role. It's like, Yes, they can until we find another actor. Because I think Gal Gadot is so entrenched in like the universe with a Superman that died. Aquaman is so interested in a world that he was in 2 other Justice League movies, or you know, one Zack Snyder Justice League that's now canon. But it's just like they were in a totally different continuity, and to keep these while making Batman different, while making Superman different, it's too confusing, it's too messy, and James Gunn has to know that. So even though they're like, we'll keep these characters, you never know. It's like Aquaman 3, even if it comes out, it's not part of the slate, which means if Aquaman 2 comes out in 2023, it is not part of this upcoming slate of Gods and Monsters, at least its first part, which already has like what, 8 movies or something. It's like, that's too much. That's too much. And if Aquaman 3 was to come out on top of that slate, when would it come out? That's what I'm trying to say. It's like, I think Aquaman 3 would have to be like 5 years away at least if they could fit it in there. And then on top of all that, they already said they want to do like about, I don't know where the source came from. I didn't read all the articles that James Gunn is doing. But I think he said something along the lines of like 2 movies and 2 TV series a year. Did you see that quote as well?
Yeah, I don't know if that was his quote or if I saw it's just like some
Oh,
Twitter user pitching that idea.
got it. Okay. But it's like, but that's something I really hope for, because 4 movies a year is a lot, Kevin Feige. But
And I'll go.
4 movies, 3 TV series a year, jeez. But yeah, I don't feel like Aquaman's gonna happen. I think eventually down the line they're gonna be like, you know what, we're gonna move away. I think for sure, Flash. I mean, Ezra Miller's gone. I think for sure. I think Zachary Levi is gone for sure. Zachary Levi maybe, because I can see, because he hasn't really interacted with any of the other DC heroes. But Zachary, like in his own trailer, and says like, "Oh, I've been feeling like with the whole therapist scene," and he like references specifically like the Batman from Justice League, Superman from Justice League. So it's like,
Sure.
It's weird to then say like, "Oh, now he's in a totally different universe." So I don't know. I think they're out. That's my thoughts.
No, I think Momoa's still around. Poisonly.
Maybe.
And let's see how this sounds.
Movie that I love that resets the entire DC universe.
Is that going right?
Move into Blue Beetle.
It's still glitchy.
A kid who's a marvelous part of the DCU. And
it's getting better a little bit. I mean, like, it's not perfect, but it's fine.
And then into Aquaman 2, which leads directly into our next few projects, which I'm going to tell you about now. So,
now you hear that, Evan?
A kid.
Oh, you're right.
And then into Aquaman 2, which leads directly into our next few projects, which I'm going to tell you about now.
Pause it.
Sounds like Aquaman 2 is in.
It's weird. I think he's saying, which leads me into like, if I'm talking in a presentation, I'm like, hey, so water evaporates, condensation, whatever, which leads me to my next topic about climate change. Like I'm switching subjects. I'm not saying one is exactly connected, but I'm switching subject when he says it, which leads me to. I don't know. I don't think Aquaman 2 is gonna lead you into Superman. You know what I mean? It's like there's not gonna be a post-credit scene in Aquaman.
I don't think he's saying that. I don't think he's saying that. Well, I think it's.
These aren't part of chapter 1.
The prologue.
It's not a prologue. This isn't your. I can't think of anything.
It's post-Flash reset, though.
It's as prologue as an Incredible Hulk. Let's say that.
Which is canon.
Which is canon-ish later down the line. I'm like,
I mean, it doesn't help that we are now about to recast the one cast member that did come back.
Exactly.
But it counts, damn it.
I just don't. I don't know. I think for now he's probably like maybe and sure. We'd love to. It's all these quotes where it's like we'd love it. We'll reconsider it if Ezra has a good recovery. Fuck off with that recovery bullshit. It's like they're gone. They're gone. Kaput.
Okay. But for Aquaman, solely Aquaman speak.
Yeah, him
I
included. He's gone.
No, I don't think so. I think in this scenario that he's saying like, okay, this is the second Aquaman movie, and it can still function as going forward. Like, I think post universe reset, we can go and like, this is Aquaman 2. We're gonna have similar elements that carry over. Some things taken out, sure, can happen. We can do that, and that's fine.
Okay, I mean, if Aquaman 2 comes out and it's a great movie, ocean to ocean worldwide,
because I mean that's a sequel. Their highest grossing DC film.
You're right. That's a good point. You're right. I can't forget that. It made over $1 billion. It made bank. It might make over $1 billion again. You never know. It's competing with Willy Wonka this year. But you're right. It made over $1 billion. Just like Joker made over $1 billion, they automatically greenlit a sequel. So if this one makes over $1 billion again, it's gonna be very hard for me to deny an Aquaman 3, especially if they don't have an Aquaman in this early slate. But yeah, okay, fine. You know what? You're telling me a little bit more on Aquaman in terms of the money of it all. But I think everything else is kaput. Besides Blue Beetle, we kind of skipped over it, but Blue Beetle as well, I think might be hopefully safe because he's not like Elseworlds. I don't know how connected. We'll have to wait for the trailers to see if they reference anything from the other movies. But if not, then I don't see why not. And we have Booster Gold coming up. Spoiler alert! So that's great too.
Yeah. Blue Beetle, I think, since it's also before Aquaman, but after Flash, I think it is in that new world. It has no pre-connection to anything anyhow.
Yeah.
And also, just like when talking about Aquaman, I don't think you can recast Aquaman right now. I feel like he's so synonymous with Momoa's take right now. And frankly, I don't think a lot of people would want to go like full-blown classic comic Aquaman, and even if you get to like that like more like rugged Arthur, that it will just draw comparisons over to Momoa anyhow.
That's a good point. I mean, like he's had more of a presence than say Ben Affleck or a Henry recently. He's up there with like a Gal Gadot, but even I think Gal Gadot can be recast eventually down the line as well. It will be. So yeah, and again, I'll leave all my thoughts about that after the fact. But yeah, I understand now why James is starting off with you have to do Superman and Batman, but he started off with all these other crazy ones because all the recent ones like a Wonder Woman, a Flash, and Aquaman are having movies this year or had movies recently, and it takes time for them to get recast and stuff like that. But I think Aquaman, Blue Beetle, staying. I'm changing my mind on stream, but it's fine. That's why Nathan's here.
Finally. He agrees.
What's next?
So, Pete, along with the very talented writers, have started to map out an 8 to 10 year plan of what DC Studios will be in film, television, and gaming. This first chapter is called Gods and Monsters. Now, what I'm about to tell you is a part of the first chapter. It's not the entire first chapter.
Cool.
The first project is Creature Commandos.
This guy.
Commandos series. I've written all the episodes. Something we're going to do that a little bit different at DC is we're going to have characters move into animation, out of animation, usually having the same actor play their voice as who plays them in live action.
Love it.
I love this in a way. It's kind of limiting, but it's also in terms of like more actors can do different things. But I like it as well. Like if they say this from the jump, then that's exciting. Because people want that for Star Wars or Marvel. Oh, hello, world biggest geek. I'm looking forward to the future of the sea. So are we. The title is really cool. Gods and Monsters, super excited for the new frontiers and beginnings to start. Yeah, I think it's hard. I'm not pessimistic. There's always people who come out there and like, you know what, his slate's kind of weak. You hardly ever hear that shit from Marvel or fans about Marvel. Like Kevin Feige releases anything, it's like, oh my god. But it's like
they have the rapport, I guess.
So. Yeah, they have the trust, and DC doesn't have the trust, which is understandable.
In fairness, like if you go back to Phase 1 of Marvel and you really like break that
Exactly.
down. Really, like, really, you didn't have that anticipation prior to.
No.
At first, it was just Iron Man. They didn't know they were gonna have end credit scene Nick Fury shit.
Yeah.
It was going like, oh yeah, the Hulk movie's in development, and it's like, oh, Tony's here. Well, shit, they're doing it, and you just expect like, oh, what's coming? Marvel's got the Captain America. Well, how will this go?
Exactly. I think people forget like the first big slate only came like at phase 3. Right?
I don't even know if they had like official like a phase 2 graph. Like whenever I think of like,
I don't think they did.
I don't think like I know like it was like taking like a long time forever to get any info on Avengers 2 at the time.
I left 2012. My how old was I? I was like 16. I left 2012's Avengers, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I need to see what happens next. And every day I would Google like Avengers 2, and I would look for any kind of minuscule amount of information. Because yeah, you're right. There was like hardly anything to know about the movie besides that. Hey, it's being made. We all just knew that.
Yeah, at most we were like, all right, cool. I'm gonna get my Iron Man sequel, my Cap sequel, my Thor sequel. What this new Guardians thing? What is it? Marvel's first flop? What will it be? Like, and then it's not. It wasn't until they did like the big press event for Phase 3 that really like, oh shit, this is an event in and of itself now.
Exactly.
Which was such an amazing event when they did it. Like, not just like having fake outs like, oh, it's Servant Society, Civil War, bitch. Chadwick's here.
That is so good. Rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. Man,
Absolutely.
That moment was so great. I remember being in my Greek history class in college, just like in the back looking at it with my friends. We're all like, oh shit, Serpent Society, oh, Civil War. It's like, it was amazing. It was great. But yeah, it's like, so people need to like understand, like I can understand the hesitation for the DC slate, but for me, I'm just like, it's hard not to be excited. Like these are some crazy, interesting ideas. So I'm with you, world biggest geek. But starting off with here with the voices, yeah, it's like I like the voice actors playing the real actors. They're establishing that up front. I like that connection. Oh yeah, that reminds me. Something I didn't like though early on. I think it was mentioned early on was that he going to be combining gaming as well in terms of the DCU slate.
Yes.
I'm like, that's going a bit too far because
Well,
okay. Give me your take first.
I think it's going to be in a sense of like, we're going to be fine if you're like a mainstream like movie watcher. I mean, I know Marvel's blurring the line with TV and they seem to be like achieving it. But yeah, gaming is like way far left field in terms of the general audience. But I think it'll be a situation like how we are with Star Wars. Like plenty of people did not play Fallen Order, but if they did, cool experience. It's in that world, good stuff.
Great point. That's a good argument. Fallen Order is fantastic, and it is super canon. Doesn't retcon anything, and the game developers have tons of freedom in their own little pocket. So yeah, you're right. But yeah, for me, I'm always just like, gaming. I want as much freedom as possible for game developers. I don't want it to be a hamstring because Batman, the Bat family is doing something they can't do this. So I'm like, but in general, if they have like Star Wars is so expansive, like they have the opportunity to do like a Fallen Order. They have so many pockets they can have freedom to. I don't know how free the DCU is, especially in this early phase. So I'm kind of hesitant about it all. But that's a good point about Fallen Order. But yeah, what's next?
Real quick.
Oh yeah.
Let's be on the right. Is that Weasel from the Suicide Squad?
Oh, is it? It looks exactly like Weasel.
It really does.
Man. It really does. Maybe this all spawned because people love Weasel. We got another comment here, by the way. I hope in the future DC will get more teams that lead to superheroes, Metal Men, Young Justice, Justice Society, the All-Star Freedom Fighters, hopefully the original Justice League team. As a big fan of comics, I have no idea who a lot of these people are. I recognize Freedom Fighters and Justice Society and Legion of Superheroes though. But yeah, hopefully I think James is a big DC fan. I think he'll cut deep as much as he wants to. And hopefully he does like reference or include some of these in later chapters. I don't see why not. We're in the early phase, so plenty of stuff after this first decade.
That's the thing. That was our problem at the beginning. Like we're not trying to catch up and hit big events. We're trying to lay down the foundation first.
Yeah, but I have full confidence that James will eventually get all of these deep cuts that Feige is able to do now.
Absolutely.
having the same play their voice as who plays them in live action. The next project up is Waller. This is a story of Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis. Viola Davis is going to team up with members of Team Peacemaker, and this is a story that's
Peacemaker
created
canon?
by Crystal Henry, who did Watchmen, and Jeremy Carver, who created the Doom Patrol. It is a fantastic story that's out of this world, and I can't wait for people to see it.
Wonderful.
That's interesting, right? Viola Davis confirmed to continue on beyond Flashpoint,
right?
Which is great.
And elements of Team Peacemaker. I believe looking at the Variety article that was in association with the drop, reading it, it had some deeper detail. One of which being that they are currently have halted development for a season 2 of Peacemaker. Focusing on Waller.
Okay, interesting. So they halted development on Peacemaker season 2.
Yeah, to have, and then members of Team Peacemaker will be in the Waller show.
Wow, interesting. I mean, that's kind of disappointing. I was kind of looking forward to Peacemaker season 2 as early as next January, but it could happen just at a later date. That's fine with me. Viola Davis, though, as your lead, kind of Viola basically is a Peacemaker show still, but with Viola Davis instead of John Cena. And while I love John Cena and he was surprisingly very good actor in Peacemaker season 1, I'm happy to see Viola on television. I say that granted, she did like 17 seasons of that one murder podcast show, whatever that was called.
Murder podcast.
What was it called again?
How to Get Away with Murder.
Which I think the first half of How to Get Away with Murder was fine. Pretty messy. Anyways, it's good to see Viola on TV once again in the DC realm. She's amazing. She is not underrated, but she just is a definition of perfect casting as Amanda Waller.
You don't want to throw that away.
She should be up there with like top tier perfect casting, like RDJ and stuff like that. So I'm excited to see people coming in and out. I really want to see Peacemaker again. I want to see a lot of the team members of Peacemaker. Spoiler alert for Peacemaker season 1, but like her daughter is in the show as well, so we can see her pop up.
It'll be interesting in terms of the connective tissue, what established things continue and what don't, because the Justice League, spoilers, shows up at the end of Peacemaker season 1.
Ooh, right. Oof.
With only the faces of Ezra and Jason. So that's fine. Ezra, again, if like you see Flashpoint, we get however they decide to move forward with that character in the face, that'll be established and fine. And Jason, I think, as we said, I think will be okay.
It's going to be so weird, this whole Flashpoint stuff. Now that James confirmed Flashpoint creates a whole new universe in the DCU.
Really? And that's not even that ending isn't really like the trouble of Connective. The trouble is that Peacemaker is coming off of the Suicide Squad, which is a spiritual sequel to Suicide Squad, which has Ben Affleck in it, amongst other people.
It's messy.
And the death of Superman established in that. So it's like, there's a whole... lot.
Well,
do we keep Margot Robbie? I hope so.
There was no Harley Quinn. Damn it.
Well, yeah. I mean, let's get Batman first.
I know. I miss her.
I will say we introduce like Margot back as a new Harley within an actual Batman project. That would be great.
I think Margot can definitely stay. Right? Like she's another definition of perfect casting.
You can just like update the look or anything to different degrees.
Exactly. But yeah, this is very interesting.
Yes. I forgot. Did we? Waller. Cool.
Yeah. What were we talking about? Yeah.
I was like, did he say what we were talking about?
We're so terrible. Oh man,
we got so lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
Okay. Up is the big one. True beginning of the DCU. This is called Superman Legacy. This is being written by me. I'm in the middle of it. I'm having a great time doing it. And Superman will be released into theaters July 11th, 2025.
All-Star Superman photo.
All-Star Superman. Have you ever read this one? I have not.
No, honestly, in terms of like comic reading, I'm pretty bare bones in the DC world. I'm not as updated, which I view it as an exciting plus for when I actually get to explore these stories when they get developed, because I have no idea what's to come, until we do Easter egg breakdowns and I read backstories. But this is interesting because I know everybody and their farmer mothers love this run of Superman. Just like, keeping that like central, not hope, but like that happiness and optimism, and hope of what Superman represents in the face of like all odds.
Yeah, I agree. It's already from the image alone, it's a pretty different take than Henry Cavill Superman. Not to say anything bad about those movies, but yeah, we just know that this is going to be a super different take. Coming out summertime, July 11th. Can't wait to see it. I have not read All Star Superman either, but on Comixology, I'm about to have it downloaded so I can, read this. I think I need to read. I might read Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow first, and then this one, and then Grant Morrison's Batman run. Because I've read a lot of Batman comics, but not the Grant Morrison run, or not. I've read Superman comics, but not All Star Superman. I'm excited to read those. And yeah, James Gunn officially confirmed to be writing Superman. As we know, he's been talking about it recently as well on Twitter, as early as last year, that he's writing Superman. So I'm excited to see what he can do and how many of these projects is he going to be writing outside of Superman. That's a big question as well.
I'm excited to see what the what a like more upbeat Superman looks like in the modern day. Because
great point. Yeah,
they were saying like, he's the embodiment of true justice in the American way. But yeah, I think more so just like he's that optimistic person in a world that doesn't really like radiate that anymore. Which would be intriguing to see, especially in terms of the performance, because as of live action Superman that we have, of the main ones between Christopher Reeve, Brandon Routh, and Henry Cavill, Christopher Reeve was great at his time. Brandon Routh was playing a continuation of Christopher Reeve canonically, so he had to carry over those values, but it was also like 2006, and it's like, is this translating? I hope so. And then when we got to Henry, love what we got in Man of Steel. I love the whole journey in that Elseworld type mindset. But after Man of Steel, he was just kind of sad. He was just kind of sad and then dead, and then brought him back.
They killed him in the second movie. Yeah,
they killed him. They brought him back, no mustache, and then we revamped it on streaming, and then Black Adam, and that's all.
So yeah, I'm with you, man. This is super exciting. Who didn't get to cast Superman? That's gonna be another big. It's crazy. Between now and like 2025, did they give us a release date for the new Batman movie yet? I don't think so, right?
We'll see. But yeah, this is exciting. This is interesting. I know they just said they're casting around like mid-20s for Superman.
20s? Did they?
Yes.
Oh wow.
Casted young. They're going young, baby.
Are you sure they said 20s, not 30s?
Not 30s. No, they've said they're casting young, and now reports going around that it is like somewhere around 25. That's why fan castings are out the wazoo right now.
Wow. There's only a limited number of famous 25-year-old actors. Like you have Austin
no name,
is like in the 30s now, but
yeah,
Timothy Chalamet. Hopefully they go no name, because there's a limit. Not limited. There's a lot of great talent out there. But for Superman, it's a big casting, and I no name. Like Henry Cavill wasn't no name, but he was like just perfect casting at the time.
I was like we were having this discussion in chat earlier because Alden, our friend, was making his thread long messages, and I was suggesting, I threw it like out there just as a joke. I was like, give the man from Cha Cha Real Smooth a chance, because he's in his mid-20s. And then I look at some photos and I was like, shit, you know what? Not bad.
Cooper Rave?
Maybe. I don't know.
Wow, that'd be interesting. He's too associated with like college identity for him to be Superman. For me.
Well, maybe we're doing that. College age reporter Clark. I don't know.
I didn't. You're blowing my mind right now with early 20s. That's way young for Superman. I did not expect that. With the new Superman movie, who do you think should be the main antagonist besides Zod or Lex Luthor?
Maybe
we're barking
not.
up the wrong tree.
Maybe not Brainiac. Someone brought up, and I think it would be cool if they did do Bizarro.
Bizarro's like that. Is that like an evil version, like the robot creature thing?
I think he's like he's he's flesh. He is a living creature, but he's just like experiment gone wrong, I guess. Not Doomsday, but just like Superman, but not.
Okay, yeah, I remember what he looks like. Yeah.
Backwards S. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Just in terms of like evil version of the main hero, kind of like cliche, but it works. Yeah, I have no idea in terms of Superman villains. He doesn't really have a great rogues gallery, in my opinion. There's a limited number, so I forget. Those who read All Star Superman or read All Star Superman, what kind of villains do they have in that comic? Maybe they might take direct inspiration from there.
Sure.
I'm not sure. But yeah, early 20s is blowing my mind. That's breaking news for me. I did not know that. I thought it'd be like more so like, the usual 30s.
Yeah. Which is actually a big reason that's going to bring me to like my one negative in the slate, which we'll get to.
Okay, cool. But yeah, I'm excited for this summer 2025. Only maybe a month or two after Secret Wars. Jeez. Or King Dynasty, I mean, right? One of those.
Yeah, it did get pushed here, yeah. So, well.
Okay. The next thing is a big premiere HBO television series called Lanterns. This is a story of a couple of Green Lanterns, Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan, and we have a few other lanterns peppered in. This is really a terrestrial-based TV show, which is almost like True Detective with a couple of Green Lanterns who are space cops watching over Precinct Earth.
Wow.
Fantastic. Love this.
Give it. Reading the Variety article, it was confirmed that this is separate development from the long-running Green Lantern show they were trying to develop, which has now just been extinguished.
The Greg Berlanti of it all. Yeah, he's kind of done now. That's over. Yeah, it was interesting because that old series was like they were going to do like, they were casting for years in terms of like they were going to have a big cast, an ensemble cast of Green Lanterns. And then it went over, it was canceled. Then they were just going to do a Jon Stewart show.
Yeah.
And then they're going to do now Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, which I think is the way to go. Get your buddy cop, lethal weapon kind of thing where Hal Jordan can be the guy out of time in a sense, like the older rough cop who's like had too many hours on the day. Like because if you're inspired off of True Detective, and I really implore people to watch True Detective. In True Detective, you have your Woody Harrelson character who's like, been around a lot longer, a little bit jaded. And then you have your Matthew McConaughey character who's weird, but newer and fresh and has a lot of these fresh ideas. And combined, they have a lot of these little things. Or they're both kind of like, they're both jaded in their own different ways on True Detective.
But I think both of these lanterns can be jaded in their own right because Hal coming out of the Air Force and John coming out of the military.
Exactly. So they're both going to have some experience in their own different occupations. But I like the fact that Hal Jordan can be like an older figure to Jon Stewart. Even on this one, like Jon Stewart looks a little bit younger than Hal. Maybe it's just me. But I like I'm excited to see their dynamic, their differences, how they're going to work together. There's going to be some kind of camaraderie, of course, but there's also going to be some tension between them, which hopefully in this kind of relationship.
I'm sorry, I left out like there's like one more important key detail in this.
In it, discover a terrifying mystery that ties into our larger story of the DC.
Yes,
cool.
Which is very cool. Yeah, that's gonna be very big. It's like they're on this Earth base. When he says terrestrial, that's the Earth. So like they're gonna be on this Earth base series, not as cosmic as the other series was planning to be. The other series, like the Greg Berlanti series, was aiming to be a bit more cosmic. This one's more terrestrial, which is fine by me. They're guardians of Earth, so they're going to stay near around on Earth, which is fine by me. But yeah, there's super secret, which is fascinating.
And I'm sure what they ultimately uncover is what will pull them from Earth itself. If they
good point. Kind of like a Captain Marvel kind of thing, where it's like she's in charge of Earth away, but then has to go away cosmic direction in the future. But yeah, I'm super excited about that one. That one sounds incredible. Just like I'm a huge Green Lantern fan. Not the movie, but just like the concept and the character and the lore. So seeing how and Jon Stewart mixing like your modern and your golden age versions of Green Lantern into one series is just awesome to me.
I will say one of my actual pluses of the Green Lantern movie that they did was Mark Strong's Sinestro, and not only the performance, but also just having him actually be a part of the main good guy Lantern Corps before turning over to the Yellow Rings.
Yeah, do you think they're gonna add like people like Sinestro and other deep cuts in this one?
I hope so. I hope we get a Sinestro because that's a great antagonist to have down the line, especially a personal one if you build it up right.
Oh, great point. I didn't realize like because it's so terrestrial based. What kind of villains are we gonna see in this? Like, are we gonna get like deep comic book villains, or are they gonna not be as cosmic as? I don't know. Maybe I'm putting too much stock in the word terrestrial. Like maybe they still gonna have like some cosmic villains, but
I'm sure we'll have some cosmic elements given the fact that this is answering to a specific precincts, but that it just goes all the way to the top. We can.
I would love that.
Probably report back like what's going on Earth. Well, here's this.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like the Men in Black stuff. Men in Black, most of it took place in like New York City and on Earth, of course, but it was still very cosmic in its weird, goofy sense. And like the main villain was on Earth. So you're right. I would love like some Men in Black to it all as well. Yeah. What's next?
A movie called The Authority. The Authority is a passion project of mine. It's based on the marvelous Wildstorm characters we are now bringing into the DCU and will interact with all of our primary DCU characters. The Authority are a group of superheroes who think the world is broken and they want to fix it by any means necessary.
Fascinating.
I think it's a very different look at superheroes. We're doing a television series called Paradise.
Go back.
Different look at superheroes. Doing it.
Okay. Cheers.
So, The Authority. Wow.
Yes. Couldn't tell you.
Me neither. Yeah. Sorry if people came in here saying, I wonder what Nathan and Evan can really tell me what The Authority is. We can't. I'm sorry. I didn't do my research prior to this podcast about The Authority, but like, given like what people were saying off of other reactions that I have watched, The Authority is one of those things where it's like not super connected to DC in terms of the DC world, a la something similar to Watchmen in a sense, where it's like it's close but no cigar kind of thing. So, and there's other characters that are like similar tropes to a Superman or similar trope to a Batman, but just with a harder edge or a different take. So people were already saying like, oh, so this has to be rated R. Like it's a hard, rougher version of classic superheroes, which is what James says here is like, it's a different look at superheroes. Like it's going to have your tropes, but a different look to it, like a Superman or Batman-ish trope or Wonder Woman trope, but with a different, harder look at it. A la something like I don't know, like The Boys or Invincible, but not like super close to those.
That's what the vibe I was picking up is like something like The Boys-esque, but even though that was more like corporate greed of powered heroes, this is more like do what's necessary kind of heroes.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like The Boys and like Invincible, those are like not parodies, but kind of parodies, right? Where like they're parodies with a message.
Break the mold.
Exactly. They're breaking the mold.
This feels like The Punisher.
Yeah.
But they're all The Punisher.
Exactly. So I'm very curious to see, like, this seems very different. And if it is going to be rated R, I wonder how James is going to juggle doing different ratings and different kind of big tonal shifts. Because that's something the MCU has like tried to do. Like, the MCU has like their horror or their heist film, but they haven't really gone rated R amongst a world of PG-13. So I'm curious to see if it is rated R, how does that work? Or if it's not, how are you going to make this as similar to the comic books as possible?
That's interesting because even like with Marvel, like they recently acquired the Netflix shows onto Disney Plus, which are TVMA.
Yep.
And obviously we have another Daredevil thing coming, to the point where, you know, I'm sure if you finish it, they'll be like, if you like this, check this out. It's probably going to be Daredevil they recommend.
Yeah.
And here we know they'd have no like real issue going hardcore, especially since, you know, Gunn made the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker. So
yeah, but this one's exciting. People were very excited for this on the just the reactions that I've seen, and people are like they like a different taste of what they didn't expect.
Interesting. And most reactions I saw was like, okay, which to me was like, you don't know me.
Oh wow, okay. So, in other words, like I have no idea, but it's interesting.
All right, what else you got? But no, I think it'll be good. And I think it is very smart of them to have them interact with other existing heroes. So like even if we are unfamiliar with them now, we'll build up that camaraderie. So like down the line, we'll be like, oh, there's so and so, great character.
Yeah,
and just, you know, grow into them. Like because, you know, Guardians of the Galaxy came out, I didn't know who anybody was, and now I'm worried who's dying in the new film.
Is the raccoon dying? Yeah, it's exciting.
A television series called Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost is a story of Paradise Island, usually known as Themyscira, which is the birthplace of Wonder Woman. It's almost like Game of Thrones with Westeros, but with all of the inhabitants of Paradise Island.
Is there more to that? I think there's more.
Is there?
The introduction of DCU's.
Oh, never mind.
Nope,
Okay, yeah.
He's going into the big
one. But yeah, this is exciting. Kind of like, again, why they canceled the Wonder Woman movie. You could probably assume because like he's diving deeper into the past. Probably going to do a different take on this DCU's version of Wonder Woman. By like, I assume there's going to be Easter eggs for like Wonder Woman, the Wonder Woman to come in this series.
You can. This is your chance to reinvent Themyscira as is, because it's all prior to it's not just before any Wonder Woman project. It's before Wonder Woman was born at all, before she was sculpted out of clay.
Yeah. So it's going to be like kind of a House of the Dragon version of Themyscira, because House of the Dragon takes place like 200 years before Game of Thrones and the other political conflicts there. So this one can take place a couple of thousand years before Wonder Woman. I assume like the credits are going to be like, you know who Wonder Woman is, you know where her birthplace is, and now you figure out her place 1,000 years before that. It's like, oh shit, like what happened 1,000 years? Like this civil war between, like, as you see in the image here, Paradise Lost, when men were still in the picture and like fighting among like men and women in Themyscira and the conflicts that happened there. Because you know it's mentioned a lot in Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 2 in terms of like, a long time ago, like there was a lot of conflict with the group of men in this world. So Paradise Lost sounds very intriguing, very interesting. You know me, I love Game of Thrones, I love House of the Dragon, I love these like political ensemble type of worlds and casts with deep historical and fascinating lore as well.
I would be very intrigued to see who we follow main wise. I would love if like we primarily had a big focus on Queen Hippolyta, who was Diana's mother. I would love if we could like build up a rapport with her and like connect with her. Then by the time we get to like Diana's actual being born, it feels even more like, oh my god, like watch as she tries to raise her daughter, and like we give a damn. But then also with the hidden fact, like we know what she's gonna be Wonder Woman, like how
that's a great point.
How can some of her characteristics go into her, stuff like that.
Yeah, future seasons we could actually see like the child her be born. But yeah, this is way earlier, so you know I'm curious to see how the time works in this series. But in general, this is a genius idea. It's very fresh, very interesting. I like it.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Prometheus, Paradise Lost. Anyway.
What a great title. God damn.
Covenant, baby. All right.
But with all of the inhabitants of Paradise Island. The introduction of the DCU's Batman is The Brave and the Bold. The Brave and the Bold is the story of Batman and his actual Damian Wayne is Damian Wayne. This is based on Grant Morrison's great comic book run. Damian Wayne is my favorite Robin. He's a little assassin who Batman tries to get in line. And so this is the story of the two of them and the beginning of sort of the Bat family in the DCU.
Now in the Variety article, he called he called him a little son of a bitch.
And he is. Damien's our little asshole, but we love him.
Real quick.
Oh, Amazon the Atlanteans. Yo, great idea. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, this show could dive into like outside of the world of man and the world of the Mascara Amazons. There are other groups like the Atlanteans that they could tease earlier wars with. Like, people remember the classic like Flashpoint war when it was just them and fighting. But I would love to see some Atlanteans in here, like early thousand, because this way you don't have to like retcon anything from James Wan's movies or anything like that. Like you can just do 1,000 years earlier, different take on the Atlanteans. I would love that. That would be awesome.
Even in old continuity, there was like an establishment between Arthur and Diana. Just like our people don't really like care for each other, but respect on both sides.
Yeah, exactly. There's respect. That's interesting. Great comment, dude.
And we got 6 viewers right now.
6 viewers, sweet. Leave a comment, guys. Like and subscribe. Glad to see you guys here. Ring the bell.
What I meant for him to do. That's not what I meant.
Ring the bell. Yes, you did, right?
I mean, yeah, it would be that. Oh, we're at 7 now.
Oh, shit.
Oh my God, we're rising. It's because we're on the Batman. Quick, talk about Batman.
What kind of hashtags did you put on this podcast?
DC.
Anyways,
they found me.
Oh shit. This is super exciting. This is the one that I was hoping for. This is the news exactly what I want. I mean, not Damien. I was not expecting Damien. I was expecting
No. I was expecting
Dick Grayson. Not my boy.
Dick, maybe Jason.
Yeah, maybe Jason Robin. But James said it himself. He's a fan of Damien, so they're gonna start off with Damien. We are talking about Batman. What's up, Caesar? Damien. And before I get into this,
the views are dropping.
People have realized that in the image, that's like apparently Nightwing as Batman, or that's Dick as Batman in that image, apparently. I don't know if James knew that. I don't care if he didn't. All people are going to realize that's Batman, because apparently this is after some kind of incident where Dick is now Batman and he's helping out. He's training Damien or whatever. But I think we're not going to come to this movie and it's going to be Dick Grayson's Batman. It's going to be Bruce Wayne with his son Damien. So that's kind of
like the whole like big pitch. Like it's his biological son who he was unaware was a thing.
Exactly. So that's going to be interesting. But again, this is so exciting because prior to this announcement, I said I want Bat Family. That's how you separate the Batman from Matt Reeves with the Batman in the DCU. Batman from Matt Reeves is a younger year 2 Batman at least in 2022. Maybe in the sequels it'll be year 4, year 6, every other year. I'm not sure. But either way, it's an early days Batman. This one can be still a youngish Batman. I'm assuming 30s at this point. Batman with an established Bat family. By this point, if he's training Damien, then James is saying, yeah, by this point, we could have Nightwing. We could have Jason Todd / Red Hood scenarios very early on. Me, I'm a big Cassandra Cain as well, Batgirl as well. Like, I would love for a lot of these Bat family members to be in the movie. If not, tease them, hopefully. James loves his Easter eggs, but I'm content with the father and son storyline. I'm playing God of War Ragnarok right now. I love the father and son trope. It's great. It's amazing. Damien is a character that I initially did not like when he was introduced within the last couple years. But
this keeps happening with Robins.
I know people are like, I don't like this Robin. I don't like this Robin. I don't like this Robin. People are so like not used to change. But
if you want us to kill Jason Todd, please write it. Oh fuck, they wrote in.
They wrote in. Oh shit!
There he goes. No!
Yeah, people. That's wild. By the
That's
way.
my son.
That's wild and very funny that they did that in the what was that 90s, 80s?
Yeah.
But wow. Yeah. So we could have other members of the Bat family here. Damien in of himself is a very interesting and comes with a lot of baggage. So are we going to see Raj or Raish, whatever you want to say, Raj Al Ghul? Talia Al Ghul has to be in this movie, I assume. Because the mother, Talia Al Ghul, had sex with Batman, Bruce, and then Damien popped out. Birds and the bees, everybody. So I'm very curious to see him. People are already saying like, be careful of the Talia al Ghul casting. We don't want like Emma Stone as Talia al Ghul. That'd be not right.
I see.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like
Aloha indeed.
Get a Middle Eastern actress to play Talia al Ghul is what I'm saying, and maybe Middle Eastern actor to play Damien. That'd be very interesting as well. I'm very curious to see what they do in terms of casting. People are already saying like, give me like Jacob Badalori from Euphoria to be Damien. Stop it.
Who said that?
People on Twitter are crazy.
I heard that about Superman. I did not hear that about.
People saying it for Superman too. Jesus.
Yeah,
Christ.
no, only for Superman. I have not heard a 10-year-old boy.
Well, you're right. People are crazy in terms of casting. How young are you going to go for Damien? Are you going to go like the Percy Jackson route, where they're like 12 and 14 in real life? So I'm very curious to see how young they go for Damien. Kind of buffering right now, Nathan. See, just I'm gonna need Emma Stone in the Batverse. Sorry, Emma Stone in the Batverse would be amazing, but she doesn't have to be Talia al Ghul. That's a different story. So we shall see. But yeah, I'm very excited to see what happens later on with other people in the Bat family. The Evans Show. Thank you. It is the Evans Show. I'll wait for Nathan's connection to get a little bit better.
Am I back?
Oh, I hear you.
Yeah.
There you go. You're back.
And another thing. No.
But yeah, what are you saying, man?
Okay. So my one negative of this slate is like I don't see Bruce being younger than 35 if this is the case. If he's a father,
yeah.
And I think that is a severe missed opportunity because we're having a much younger Superman and an older Batman again.
Oh, he lied out again. When he comes back, I do agree, but apparently in the Grant Morrison run or some other Batman runs, they can just say he's like early 30s, kind of like how old Chris Evans was in Captain America in the first movie. Like Chris Evans was like early 30s when he came Captain America. You can have an early 30s Batman and just say, oh, okay, cool. Doesn't matter. Like early 30s Batman, late 20s Superman. That's fine. That's a fine age difference. I'm cool with that. They can say he got Dick Grayson when he was early 20s, Tim Drake, mid 20s, Jason Todd, late 20s, and now Damian, early 30s. That's fine with me. I'm fine with it. I don't really care. Age is just like, they don't have to be super specific. Like people were saying they need to have an older version, like at this point, they should just have Ben Affleck's Batman because somebody is in his age range, like a Ben Affleck's Batman, because of the Damian of it all. But I don't think that's the case. I don't think that needs to be the case. Nathan's in. But as I was saying, Nathan, you're good now. As I was saying, I think I don't mind the age thing. I think they can just say whatever. It doesn't matter. He's in his early 30s, and then we're all good. That's basically what I was just saying a couple of minutes ago.
Mayhaps.
Yeah.
Mayhaps. I think I'm just bummed because I feel like when we got Pattinson as Batman, we saw what he portrayed. Like he nailed it, and it's like how do you recapture that again so soon?
Yeah, you're right. It is so soon. It is so soon because I mean we don't have a release date. As I was asking earlier, I assume this is going to come right in the middle of the Bat trilogy. This is very interesting. Going at the same time, this is something we were kind of expecting when we realized like there might be 4 Batman in the old version of the DCU before James came along.
Right.
I don't know. This is going to be very interesting. You're just going to have to nail the casting. If you nail the casting, people won't care. People won't care.
The The one benefit I do, I mean, there's a lot of benefits with like playing an older Batman. There's a lot of like richness of like history to tap into with the Bat family. I'm most excited to be able to see Nightwing come to the fold.
Just give me Dick Grayson as Nightwing, please, please. Cinema is begging for a great Nightwing. I would love that.
They're coming all together, Caesar. Don't worry.
Yeah, I think Batman 2 is definitely it's set for 2025. So Batman 2 is going to happen right when Chapter 1 starts. But Batman 3, I'm assuming now at this rate, if it's every 3 years, probably going to be 2028 by that point. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Reeves cooks every like 3 to 4 years. So
exactly. So, so by 2028, we'll probably have our first Batman movie, which I expect to be 2026. So we shall see. It's going to be very interesting casting for Damian, for Batman, for Superman. Man, James has a big job on his hands. What's next?
In the DC, is called Booster Gold. Is one of comics' really popular cult heroes. He is a fascinating guy. He's a loser from the future who uses future technology to come back to present day and become a superhero so that people will love him. It is basically the superhero story of imposter syndrome on an HBO Max series.
That's exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah.
You know me. This is me during the podcast. I'm like, okay, because I'm not a huge Booster Gold. I'm not a fan. I'm just unfamiliar with the character.
Okay.
Basically, if these characters weren't on Young Justice or a lot of the other shows I watched, then I basically don't remember them. In terms of DC. But it sounds interesting. Apparently he does have a connection to like a Blue Beetle. So that's exciting. But yeah, this premise sounds very exciting, very interesting. It seems very comedic, kind of like a comedic, funny tone to it in contrast to some of the other ideas that James is cooking. But I like this as an HBO Max series. This isn't a movie. We're gonna get a series out of this, which is all of these series have tons of different tones in terms of like, you know, creatures and monsters, Paradise Lost, detective, and now a comedy in the form of a superhero from the future with the imposter syndrome, which just sounds like an awesome premise.
I'm expecting the series to be a bumbling fool for the heart of gold.
Exactly. Yeah.
A lot of people throwing out fan casting for Glenn Powell. Please.
Glenn Powell is just on the rise. Please watch Set It Up, guys. Set It Up is fantastic. But yeah, he'll be great as Booster Gold. He'll be great as Hal Jordan. He'll be great as anything in the future. I would love him. I hope in the Green Lantern show we'll get this reference known as I'm not Green Lantern.
I don't know that context.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're trying to say there. Are you talking about Booster Gold being referenced in Green Lantern? Are they similar? Are they connected at least?
Might just be maybe if there's two Green Lanterns.
Maybe
imposter syndrome there.
But yeah, it's very interesting. Very interesting premise. What's next?
One of my favorite comic book series from last year was Tom King's run on Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. And so we're going to turn that into a big science fiction epic film. Now, Superman is a guy who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents, whereas Supergirl in this story, she is a character who was raised on a chunk of Krypton. She watched everybody around her perish in some terrible way. So she's a much more jaded character. And that brings me to...
Wow.
Nathan, holy shit.
This is my favorite.
It's probably my favorite too. I'm a huge Supergirl fan. I watched 3 seasons of it and then I stopped. On the CW.
Let me follow up on this guy.
Oh, it was from the Just League Unlimited show. I love Just League Unlimited. Love that show. When he was trying to clear civilians out, a kid came up to him and asked, "Can I have your autograph?" And he thought it was Green Lantern. Oh, okay. Very interesting. I like that. I mean, knowing James Gunn, I could totally see that happening with all these different interconnected references and interesting. I should rewatch Justice League Unlimited. It's on HBO Max, I believe, because I loved that show growing up. But anyway, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. This is one I instantly ordered. I mean, it's basically sold out, the physical copy on Amazon now. but
Yeah,
I got the digital copy on Comixology. And I'm very excited to get into it because I have not read this one, but we just talked about different tones with the TV series, and the movie's going to have a ton of different tones too. I like how we mentioned sci-fi epic with Supergirl, which sounds very interesting to me. We are getting Supergirl in the Flash in the form of Sasha Calais. I forget to say her name.
Please, can we?
Can we keep Sasha? I would love it because she seemed to be having a great time as Supergirl. But given the whole flashpoint of it all, given the whole fact that this is a different origin story for Supergirl, I don't think that's going to be the case. Unfortunately, I think we're going to get a brand new Supergirl. But I can hope.
Yeah, with the way I don't know where she's been in the whole DC universe. She's just kind of in the Flash suddenly. I don't know if she's from a different Earth or.
But what I'm saying is, like, the writers had to have obviously come up with some kind of backstory for the film itself. Like,
true.
Maybe not.
This clearly has to tie in with their new Superman.
Exactly.
In the new universe. So yeah, a chunk of crypto. That's interesting because that's not the origin I'm used to at all. I'm used to the show.
Yeah, this is different from what I know as well. But just hearing him talk about it, I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And it only came out like in 2021. So this is very recent.
It gives me the most intrigue down the line when we have a jaded Supergirl encounter a optimistic Superman.
Give me that. Yeah, that has to be a post-credit scene. Okay. But I'm excited. I'm a huge Supergirl fan. Hopefully down the line we get Wonder Girl because I love Wonder Girl on Young Justice. She's great. I hope we get some Batgirl eventually. We know there's Bat families, so Batgirl is coming. But Woman of Tomorrow just blew my mind. I did not think we'd get a Supergirl in the same chapter as a Superman. I just thought that would come at a later time. But the fact that she has a totally different backstory intrigues me. And, just as the sci-fi epic of it all and a jaded Supergirl who went through a lot of trauma and watched everybody around her perish, like, fuck, that just sounds dark and interesting. And I'm excited to see her future.
I mean, we talk about the Bat family. Give me a Superman family, man. Clark, Kara, Crypto. Give me Crypto the Superdog.
I mean, please give us Superdog. I mean, come on. I mean, that's something that we can probably expect in later chapters.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Next up.
Her perish in some way, so she's a much
last
more
one
character. And that brings me to Swamp Thing, the last thing we're going to talk about. A very dark horror story in the origins of the monster who is Swamp Thing. And although it's totally outside of the rest of the DCU, it will still feed into the rest of the stories. Anyway, those are the stories that I can tell you about right now. I've loved the DC characters.
We can pause it here. Doesn't really talk much about it. He says he's happy. I'm happy. But Swamp Thing, very exciting. Swamp Thing horror film set within the DC universe is exciting. Hopefully it's not horror as in like Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness is horror. It's not. But I wanted like a true horrific film set in the DCU. That's what I really want. Swamp Thing has had a lot of bad adaptations in the past.
I didn't watch there was a 1-season show recently. Wonder how that panned out.
Oh yeah, not sure.
But
I think Mr. Sunday Movies did like a commentary of Swamp Thing. I forget which one they watched, but it was pretty funny.
Probably an older one. But I think DC has an upper hand here over Marvel's production because it's all coming from the House of Mouse, so they don't want to go too disconnected with the children. Whereas here, again, we had like a lot of R-rated content regardless. So if they want to go full blown horror, they can. Coming from Warner Brothers, they're not shy of doing horrific elements.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, this is one that could easily have become an Elseworld story, but I like how James said, like, even though it's horror, even though it's outside of the realm, kind of what we're doing, it will still have aspects that tie into what their chapter 1 plan is. And the fact that this is only bits and pieces of chapter 1, that's wild to me. Like, what did we just talk about? Like 5 or so movies, 5 or so TV series. Like,
Mhm.
That's a lot already. That's like
Mhm.
basically one phase for Marvel, or that's a little bit less than a phase. But like, this is very interesting. I'm very curious how many other projects are going to comprise their chapter 1. Is it going to end in an event style thing like the Marvel phases usually do with an Avengers movie? Or
I
like,
wonder if they'd save like because I feel like the big team up you want to lead to is Justice League.
but they can't do that in chapter 1.
No, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe they will reserve that for chapter 2. Maybe they want to build it out as big as possible because the Justice League is a pretty big team.
I agree. I think their big event for the end of chapter 1 has to be Superman and Batman teaming up, right? Like,
yes, I that's why I was like thrown off of the different ages, because I want so desperately to have World's Finest film with Superman and Batman.
Yeah,
or they're friends.
I think we'll definitely get World's Finest. And again, I think they'll do early 30s. I think. Do you know how old Chris Evans was in Captain America 1? I forget how old he was.
I'll look it up right now.
I think he was like early 30s. And I think that's what you do. You get somebody who's early 30s who looks kind of younger, like a Chris Evans, in that, and then a late 20s Superman. So even though he's visually looks a little bit younger, they're around the same age range, so they can still have a great World's Finest thing where it's like, yeah, we're best buddies, but Batman can still be a good mentor to Superman in a way.
I believe Chris was 29 when first Avengers came out, so he'd probably be 28 while filming it.
20 while filming it. So yeah, I think definitely he's going to be around Chris Evans' age range, or 30, a little bit older than that. And again, even though he's a parent, I can still say like early 30s, doesn't matter. He probably had dick when he was a teenager, or early days of Batman. They don't have to be all specific with it. But yeah, this is just super cool. I think that's how you really do it. If they're already saying Batman, if they're already calling out Superman early on here, you just say your chapter 1 ending is going to be some kind of thing that they discover in Green Lantern. It's going to spiral out, and they need the World's Finest to save the day. And that's you don't have to do the whole Justice League. You can just do 2 of them, and that's fine. We'll still be super hyped and happy.
What about Shazam, Evan? When does he come back?
He'll come back when Pfizer is ready.
You think they would do Black Adam again without The
Rock? Honestly, people shit on Black Adam. It's not a great movie. We had fun with it. We had a review on it on My Committee. But he was great casting as Black Adam, in my opinion.
He had the hair back when he was cast. Which I guess is a choice, according to The Rock.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, I mean, I think Black Adam could definitely survive the snap, and you never know. Yeah. Would Rock want to come back, though? I don't know. He might have some bad experiences post Black Adam.
Where's Martian Manhunter, baby?
Oh, I would love Martian Manhunter. He's great.
So just like one last DC thing. So regarding the Flash, which Gunn actually seems pretty happy about, whether you think that's corporate speak or not. I mean, he didn't have to say it's the best superhero film ever. I think it's probably Did
he say it was the best superhero movie ever?
Not the, but like one of the greatest.
Good for you.
Well, look, I mean, let Andy Muschietti cook. He's good.
I like it. Chapter 1.
I like both chapters. Damn it, Carson! Why'd you leave? I need your help.
Did Carson like it? Chapter 2?
You like it? Chapter 2? Yes.
All
right. Well. Anyway, I think it can deliver. I think it'll be good. Trey's excited.
Trying to pull you, Trey. Trey's like, I heard things. I heard it's great. Hearsay. Hierarchy of power.
Everything's hearsay.
Everything's hearsay. Exactly. Apparently, Batgirl was so bad.
All right. If it's okay, but if it is as good as if you are genuinely surprised,
okay,
at like how well it turns out,
okay,
and say these corporate speak is true, that they are potentially gonna wait to hear how Ezra's treatment goes. Do you see a future?
Not at all.
Not at all.
No. There was just another article about what he did last night.
There was?
There was.
No. No, come on. Damn. Not that I haven't already hopped off the train, but I'm just fucking I was before this shit I was enjoying.
Literally, I bookmarked it so I can bring it up. It's a
They can't win, Bob. Who do you cast as the Flash?
Ezra Miller's farm in Vermont had an altar of bullets, weed, sage, and Flash figurines. He would make women put their cell phones on the altar when they came in. It's weird, Bob.
Oh, that's old news, Bob. I heard that.
It's weird. It's weird.
Yes,
apparently
it's weird.
Apparently, they had more comments on it. This new article came out. But either way,
it's fair. Yeah, it's a problem. He is a problem.
I understand. You know me. I want to be supportive. If they have a great recovery, all the best to them. Mm-hmm. Even though they led to some bad experiences for other people, which is still kind of unforgivable. Mm-hmm. You can always hope for the best for people. But I just think they're saying this so they can recover, but down the line they'll just be like, maybe they just gracefully just step away. I think be like, in order for me to recover, I have to move away from the Flash. I think that's how it's going to happen, in my opinion. Or however it happens, if they find a good recast, or just move away. It's kind of weird for me to be the main focus of Flash. I was going to say it's weird for the Flash to do a Flashpoint and everything changed besides himself, but that's kind of the point of Flashpoint. Anyways, so it would make sense for Ezra to stay, but I don't think they will stay. I think Ezra's going away. Specifically, again, because they're already an actor that's just so not maligned in Hollywood at this point, but I don't think a studio wants to go to work with them at least in the near future. And if James is setting up something completely different in his DCU with a new Superman, a new Batman, maybe the same Aquaman, but Wonder Woman's probably going to change as well with a new Paradise Lost. I just think it's safe to just do a new one. Hell, do a Wally West. Be different.
That is something I was going to ask. Do you think they just do a completely new Barry, or do they just pick a different Flash?
You can do Barry, a different Flash. The Flash has tons of different characters. The Flash is such an interesting character. It's an interesting family through time and space that you can just do a different Flash and people will be like, okay, cool. And just move on like that. And I don't think people will be upset about it at all. Especially you can't get more upset than doing a different Superman. So, I think while it's possible, while the comments I'm like, oh, wow, they actually were considering it from Peter Safran. He did say, he said people like Gal Gadot, people like Zachary Levi, people like Ezra Miller and Jason Momoa. They could, down the line, reprise their roles if they're able to. Sure. I think, again, that's all corporate talk, in my opinion. I could easily be proven wrong. Gal Gadot could show back up, or Aquaman could show back up. But Aquaman made $1 billion, and The Flash hasn't showed up yet. So we'll see how box office is. We'll see how the reviews are. You never really know. I'm ready for The Flash, especially the characters of Batman in the Dark Flash. I mean, it's exciting. It's exciting from the announcement that we're going to get Michael Keaton, Sasha Kawa, Supergirl. That's exciting.
It's gonna be like a wacky, fun film. I know they're doing a bunch of different. There'll be returning characters.
But for me, real quick, it's just I really liked last year's Spielberg. What was it called? The musical
West Side Story.
West Side Story. But for me, I'm not saying Ezra Miller and West Side Story actor. The answer. There we go. In the same situation because they're not. But it's just he was the weakest part of the movie for me, and that kind of diminished a little bit of my enjoyment of the movie. So already going in, Ezra might be diminishing my enjoyment of the movie itself, even though everything around him could be great. So you never really know. So I'm excited. I'm not excited. I'm interested to see how the movie goes. I would gladly be surprised. I would gladly love to be surprised. But that's about it, though. Overall, though, DC Slate, very interesting. I think my most hyped things are Supergirl and Batman Bat Family. What about you?
Supergirl for sure, and probably Superman because I want to see a Superman movie. By the time that comes out, we'll be 12 years removed from Man of Steel. I remember in the theater sitting there watching Man of Steel, in not my proper AMC, but yeah, no, I'm excited for those. I am excited to check out a new Batman interpretation, always, anytime, because of like DC characters, that is probably the most like familiar one I have. So it's always intriguing to see like how stuff gets pulled off.
Yeah, I agree, big time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And Swamp Thing for horror.
Oh yeah, true. Even not knowing anything about Swamp Thing or much of anything about Swamp Thing, I'm excited to explore more and get that horror vibe. I love it.
And yeah, I don't mean to say like every like big, but like Lantern's True Detective style. Holy shit!
That's just music to my ears.
Yeah.
But True Detective was on HBO. And speaking of HBO, we have their biggest series right now, The Last of Us.
The Velma.
Velma. Oh, spoiler alert. We're talking about Velma, baby.
I'm episodes behind for good reason. I'm sorry.
I haven't watched it.
I respect to the animators. They are trying to salvage me. Like it's good. It's good animation, and I feel bad
because the story's not there, huh?
Not great, Bob.
Weird, but the story that is great is episode 3 of The Last of Us. Was the episode titled A Long, Long Time? Because I know that's what the song was called.
Yes, it was titled A Long, Long Time.
Based off of the song. Okay.
Yeah, and it is the better version of Up.
It really is. Like this episode moved me to tears.
Arrival,
guys. People just tuning in. People who are still here, are gonna watch the recap. Whatever. Arrival, one of my top 10 movies of all time. When I watched it in 2016, it blew me away. Specifically, the reason being because the beautiful track by Max Richter, On the Nature of Daylight, blew me away in the movie theater. When it plays at the beginning of the film, when it plays at the end of the film, it hits on all the right emotional moments. And it happened again in not Spielberg, in Scorsese's what's it called? The Lighthouse. What's the movie called?
Shutter Island.
Shutter Island. Yeah, that one. Shutter Island uses it very well when he's reminiscing about his past. Leonardo DiCaprio is.
I need to see that one.
It's good. Like whenever he meets his wife, they play that song, and it's like,
ooh,
music to my ears. It's great. But then they play it here, and it's just, I was bursting. Because at first I was like, they're playing my song. But then a montage happens. I'm like, oops. Tears. Yeah, oops. Oh, shit. It was great, dude. I love this episode so much.
So it deviates from the game for the better. So
I agree.
I'll just do a quick recap of the game section. We run into Bill, need a vehicle, got to get a battery. Go to that school, go on our way to find the battery. Lo and behold, we run into Frank. Never get to meet him alive. Never got to get a sense of who the man is. We just find a note was left because he was infected and he didn't want to turn into one. So Frank hangs himself, but not before leaving a note. And I realize I have not read that note in a long time, and I recently looked up that note. That is a sad fucking note. I hate that. That is what he's left with.
It's very sad, right? I think Neil talked about this. That note is kind of like portraying the loss of love, or the hardships that come with love, in a sense, where Bill and Frank loved each other, but then they had a lot of contentious relationship as they grew older, as time moved on. Bill wanted to stay, Frank wanted to leave, and he got bit and hung himself.
Yeah, and even like when you read the note, like you read it and you're just like, Jesus Christ, like they hated each other by that point. But something deep down inside him still made him write something.
Yeah, exactly. Something still made him say like "fuck you, Bill" or something along those lines. Just like an "f you" or "goodbye, Bill," but in a mean way. And Bill was kind of like, "Well, f you too, Frank." Even though Bill kind of like shoves it off, but then in the game, like you give the note back to him, and Bill says, "Oh, Frank."
It's very weird because like before reading the note, I was like watching like a recap playthrough of just like cutscene stuff, and then like important gameplay because I don't have the time to cover it all while I'm covering the show. But I was just getting to that point. I don't know. And the way I like take off Bill's expression was just like, oh, he just read something very like sentimental, and it's getting to him, but he wants to be that macho man in front of Joel, didn't want to show it. But then I read the note and I'm like, oh, I'm sad.
It hits. Yeah. Like when Joel picks up the note, he's like, oh, geez. And then you get the note back to him. You're like, oh, man, you deserve to keep this. Like, even though he killed himself, you deserve to keep one last memory of Bill, however hard it must be. And that note in the game is kind of that whole level in the game. Basically, like you get your shotgun, you get your supplies, you get your battery, you move on your way with the new car. Or you don't get your battery, but you just get a new car. Right. And the level of the game is showing you like a secluded version of life without love, in a sense, in a world where at this point Tess is gone and Joel is taking care of Ellie. This new relationship with Bill is basically Joel coming into face to face with somebody who has lost that. They have no Tess, they have no Ellie. So even though Joel and Bill are pretty similar, without Frank there, Bill is kind of like alone, and that's somewhere Joel could be if he doesn't like protect the one that he's close to in Ellie. So yeah, it makes the next level, the Pittsburgh level, much more emotional. But yeah, this one though, different canon, different ending, which I think worked for the better, like you said.
I think the whole story is better. I think it's ridiculous how many people, even like homophobic comments aside, people being like, I didn't get my fridge upside down.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
We're here for a story. You're not playing it.
Exactly. Yeah, this part would be this new story kind of be unplayable. But either way, like, even though the game builds on a lot of iconic moments, like the fridge scene, like the big bloater in the high school, I think people who are like, I don't want to say true fans, but people who enjoy The Last of Us for what it is will know the beauty of The Last of Us comes with this more emotional depth in storytelling, the relationships between the characters. And that's exactly what we get in this episode between Frank and Bill. And this is not filler. Stop that, because our main characters aren't in the episode, so it must be filler. No. Like, new stories that coincide with the theme of the freaking show automatically means it's not filler, because it's adding depth to the theme and it's adding depth to Joel. Bill flat out spells out the theme of the show with the core tenets of the show in the last couple of minutes of the episode in a beautiful letter of his own to Joel. So I really loved that. But in general, I couldn't disagree more with the haters on this one.
It was such a really compelling story. It's a very huge sense of vulnerability.
Yeah.
That I think is what helps lead to your connected empathy to these characters that you're watching, because we're not here for a long time, but damn, do we feel like we lived that lifetime.
Exactly. We cut through a lot of different time periods, kind of like House of the Dragon. Every episode is like 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. But this one, like, we're going through different time periods with Bill and Frank, played by, of course, Bill was Nick Offerman, Frank was Murray Bartlett from most recently White Lotus, and people know Nick Offerman famously from like Parks and Rec.
He's not American, Frank.
We're all Nazis. Well, not back then. They are now. That was hilarious.
Oh, I met Frank's actor. I was like watching the interview, and I was like, "That's not English." Or maybe it is. It's not American.
Yeah. If you watch White Lotus, his accent's completely different.
Oh wow,
it's hilarious. But yeah, I love when they first met. It was kind of like the hard and gruff person who prepared for the pandemic, or not pandemic, but just pandemic and like anti-U.S. government. He was anti-establishment, and that kind of.
He's a survivalist.
Yeah, and I like how Craig said, like, it's funny how the survivalist anti-government guy turns out to be like gay and has all these other different like hidden secrets to himself that like Frank helped unveil through their connection. It was kind of like an interesting juxtaposition there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked him just going through town doing all these things. But yeah, when he meets Frank, it's really when the episode really starts to hit deep. Because through all the shared meals and their first interactions, it was very cute.
Very cute, very vulnerable. I love even just like before that when they clear the town and Bill just has the town to himself. I was like, this is fun. I will watch all of this forever. This is fun.
Yeah.
Like I know it's like I think I described my video. I didn't post it yet, but I was describing like obviously this is an unfortunate scenario, but I think a person like him, he's not only doing this because it's necessary and important, but I think he's genuinely like enjoying himself doing this.
Yeah, like he's enjoying himself living alone. He enjoys living alone, and I think that was made plain and clear, even though he never says it. He says a line like something you new order fucks at the beginning of the episode.
Not today, you jackboot New World Order fuck.
Yes,
I was like, I don't know what all those words mean, but it's probably not my style.
Yeah, that was incredible. But you get the sense like New World Order, like the new type of U.S. government that's kind of like anarchistic and just like reveling in their power. Speaking of that, like we learn more about how bad Fedra is as an organization when they took a lot of people, like a woman and their child, to a QZ zone, knowing they would never go there, knowing that they would just it was
Joel's words were they told you were going to a QZ, and you were if there was room. If not, and then Elliot asks, why can't they just leave him be? It's because dead can't be infected.
Dead can't be infected, and as I said in episode 1, when they were getting like hanged for doing minuscule things, it's like less people, less resources to share. That's just kind of the state that they live in now, unfortunately. And it's dark. It is very, like Bill and Frank said, it has lots of traces of Nazi Germany and what they happened during the Holocaust. And a lot of the unfortunate, awful things, very similar to what Fedra was doing by just killing people on the side of the road. It's very disgusting and crazy. So that's one of the darker depths of this world. But yeah, Bill and Frank meeting, having that dinner, the duck, the red wine. I think it was red wine.
I think what was my Gordon Ramsay brand was cooking. I think it was it lamb chops.
Was it lamb chop? I thought it was duck.
There's like 3 bones sticking out. Whatever that one's called. Is that just lamb chops?
Maybe.
Lamb, just lamb. Just say lamb. Sounds cleaner.
All of the above. Lamb.
Drop the just Facebook. It's cleaner.
Facebook. But
yeah, it's beautiful. Just not to like linger bit by bit because I know you got places to go.
We're good.
We got the beautiful meal, which is going to contrast later with the last meal, the first and last, echoing one for one. So beautiful. There's so many beautiful moments of their intimacy, like when they grow strawberries, which they haven't had for at least a decade.
That was so great. Speaking of that, like they mentioned, like, how'd you get all these strawberries? Well, I traded one of my guns to Tess. He's like, which gun? The small,
little one.
The little one. Don't worry. And then they were making out. It's like not on the strawberries. Like a lot of these cute scenes. That remind me, like we got a fantastic scene. So we're going year by year. So yeah, Bill and Frank, they had sex. Oh, they also played that beautiful piano. The first time we hear long time by Linda Ronstadt,
right?
Who I've never listened to before, but the show's giving her a lot of numbers.
Oh yeah,
a lot of views.
The new running up that hill.
Exactly. I always love when shows do that.
So yeah, I'll piece together these different
please do
time periods. Everything goes down, and then it's 4 years later when Bill finally meets Frank, and they have their first dinner. They have that intimate moment. They hook up in the most like romantic way. That's also, it's not just like playing up. That's just like, wow, look at these 2 gentlemen doing this. It's just like it's played naturally as any other person.
Exactly. Yeah,
it's wonderful and it's very wholesome. The whole relationship is wholesome.
It's very wholesome. And again, it's Frank unveiling who Bill truly is. It's like Frank can Frank's one of the rare people, probably the only person who could see Bill for who he truly is, which is
They're-
great.
Yeah. Their whole journey is wonderful. So then they do that. And the next thing you know, it's another 3 years later, and they're arguing about how to take care, because ultimately it's become both of their home now, as well as the town itself, and Frank wants to maintain it because he likes to think that they'll have friends someday, and lo and behold, he's actually been talking to Tess on the radio, to Bill's dismay, and that reveal is wonderful, seeing a young Tess and Joel.
I agree. I mean, I like Frank's whole character, and yeah, he's much more open than people like Joel, people like Bill, where he's like, I want to communicate. I want to go outside of this house. The house isn't just our only home. We have the whole neighborhood. I want to go clean up the boutique store. I want to go paint other houses, paint other homes. I want to make this place more homely so we can get people inside of here. And Frank and Bill is just like, no, I have you. That's it.
Basically, Bill, he doesn't see it as like a resource management, which drives Frank insane. It's basically Bill's working on necessity, whereas Frank wants to live. He doesn't want to just not just yeah, we're in the apocalypse, but like, God damn it, that can't just be our mindset all the time.
Yeah, and at this point I was kind of nervous. I'm like, oh, are they gonna go the game route where they argue and then Frank leaves, right? Were you thinking that too? I was like,
I was worried because the whole time I know they were saying I was hearing reports it deviates from the game, and I just thought that meant well, it's because we're gonna see Frank and we're gonna spend time. We didn't have this dinner with Joel, Tess.
Yeah, but yeah, the dinner scene, I was laughing, smiling the entire dinner scene. It was so euphoric to see beautiful younger Tess, and then see a younger Joel. It was just so great.
So nonchalant, just
yeah,
maybe you're on that fence.
Yeah, the fence got to go. Get the gun off my face, please. It was just so great. And then Tess and Frank just hitting it off. They've been communicating. And Tess is like, I really see the inside of your house. And Frank's like, yeah, coming inside. And Bill's like, what are you doing? Taking her inside? It was just great. And they mentioned this on the podcast, but it's Bill and Joel are very similar in terms of they're protectors. Tess and Frank always want to. They're great. They're reliable to Joel and Bill, respectively. But Tess and Frank are people who are a lot more open. They want to do more. They want to be around more people, or they want to survive by other means instead of just Frank or just Bill and just Joel. Right. Joel at this point is so jaded, and so is Bill, that they just want to protect their people. They want to protect Tess, and that's it. But even Joel was like, yeah, we could help you guys out. We could trade. Whatever is more optimal for Joel to survive at this point. But yeah, Tess and Frank are a lot more open compared to Joel and Bill, which is a very interesting connection. And that's how Bill can see Joel and himself. Yeah, you're a lot like me. Even in that conversation when he's telling him about the fence and about how people are eventually going to come and about resources, Bill was like, okay, I might not like you, but I respect you a lot. And they can really understand each other. So I really like that relationship, so much so that when shit hits the fan, he calls Joel later on.
It's interesting because even as Joel's leaving, he's like, we're fine. And that's the last you see between the interaction between them. But then later when he's lying on the table near death, and he's worried about Frank, he's like, call Joel. He'll take care of you.
He says call Joel because, again, Bill realized that Joel, like himself, is a protector. He's good at taking care of people. Right. Which is why he mentions take care of Tess. Take care of the people that you love. But yeah, after this one, is that when we get the people coming to their house scene?
Yeah, Joel and Tess leave, and then we get the 3-year jump to the strawberries, which now makes it 10 years since the start, 10 years before the present.
And you see them gradually getting older with the mustache and the
little grays coming in more and more. They still look pretty spry in that decade. And then
they do, yeah.
The Raiders come and the traps are set and fucking fire everywhere.
Beautiful. What a great scene. Oh my gosh. It's so tense, hectic, very similar to when Sarah woke up and there's fires going out during the start of the whole disaster. He wakes up to flames going off, guns getting shot, and it turns out that Bill was the one that was shot. I always thought in the trailer that was Frank,
right?
But it's Bill gets shot and Bill almost dies.
I think my initial theory was I did think Bill I realized Bill was shot, but I thought in the moments of Frank helping him get to safety was when he might die in this version.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But yeah, Bill nearly dies. Frank comes in, kind of fulfills that protector role while Bill is spouting out like, "Call Joel. I got copies of the keys in case I die." Like he's already writing off things.
Yeah, that's his thing. He's ready.
Yeah.
And there was a wonderful line in one of the interviews I was watching with Nick Offerman. One of the behind the scenes is the way they compliment each other. Frank is the flowers and Bill is the soil.
Wow.
I was like, that is some beautiful ass
Holy
poetry.
shit. That's deep.
That's so deep.
I like that a lot.
Oh yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah, this says a lot about their characters, bro. Like Frank is so like full of life, right? A flower full of life. In the soil, like Bill is kind of like the person that helps give the life, supporting that life. That is Bill's role. Man, that's deep as fuck. I love that quote.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm like, oh, is Bill gonna die here? Is this where it diverges and changes?
That's what I was like too in the moment, because I'm like, oh, because he just sort of like blacks out quietly and it stays black for a while. I'm like, oh
shit.
And then we get to the front porch and where Frank's sitting alone, and then Bill walks out.
What a jump cut! And Frank is now the one near death, even though Frank is younger. Bill's still older. Frank is unfortunately the one that was closer to death because he has like this neurodegenerative disease that's unknown, but
loss of the motor function. He says as much as like Bill. Well, there's a big thing. Hold on. Well, first they turn around, come in the door, and realize it's been a whole 10 years later, and they're just like both white as hell. And I'm like, oh, that's older than Bill looked.
Way older, and this is we're now in the present timeline. So
present, and that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, hey.
I figured Joel and Ellie were going to come up while they were in dire straits and then just leave on their way, but that's not what happened.
I wasn't even sure what to think at this point. I was just like, oh, they're old, and he can't paint, and is he okay?
Yeah, it was so sad. It was a big gut punch, a big reveal.
And then they wake up the next morning. Bill's surprised that Frank's up already, and for the same reason he says as much. It's just like it took me almost all night just to get out of his bed into the chair.
That's crazy.
Which is pissed Bill off because he's just like, your feet will get blue. You fall asleep. Don't do this.
Yeah. Oh, we also get that great small moment, but when they're going to bed that previous night, like you could see before he like gets out of bed, you see Frank like open his eyes, and I think it's then where he realized like, yeah, this next day is going to be my last day. Like him coming to that realization internally via Bill's performance was just awesome.
Yeah,
one
of like the sad. I think what started the wheels in his head for me was early in the day when he was trying to paint, and Bill just kind of like comes up because he's like refilling, he's watering the flowers, and he just gives like a little like wink, just because he loves him.
Yeah.
And then he's just thinking about it, and he looks over at his painting. He's painting Bill. He always paints Bill. There's so many paintings of Bill.
So much.
But he can't finish this one.
Oh, man. I can rewatch that scene then. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, doing the things he loves is like he's unable to do the things he loves anymore. But, yeah, and then we get, where he tells Bill that, like, I want this to be my last day. Like, I've had a lot of bad days with you, but I've had more good days than bad. And I want you to make this last day special. I want to go on a walk, I think he says, around the town, dress up like it's our wedding day. I want us to get married, right?
Go to the boutique. We'll pick out something to wear. You'll wear what I ask.
Oh, man.
And then they'll get married. And I'm bawling at this point.
Yeah, me too. I'm just like, I'm like Bill. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I can't imagine if somebody I love asked me to do that. Like, that's like the ultimate, especially somebody like a protector like Bill, we're asking him to do the opposite of his job.
Yeah. And Bill was even like, even before breaking down, was like asking, well, maybe a doctor will come along, somebody could help.
Someone has come along.
So, all right.
I'm sorry.
It's Joel. No, but Frank goes on to say like there was no cure for this disease even before the world went under.
Exactly.
It's just not in the stars.
It's not in the stars. But then Bill reluctantly says, "Okay."
Yeah.
Or I don't think he says okay. He just
he asks,
yeah.
"Do you love me?" Of course I do. Then love me the way I want you to.
Whew.
How
the writing in this episode? Fuck.
Every time I run into banger lines like this, I realize I'm a lesser writer. Every time I'm like, I'll never do that.
Like,
and they're so simple.
It's so simple, but it's so raw and real. Like it doesn't feel like cliche or anything. It just feels so like this is something that Frank in this moment would definitely say. Like it's just great writing.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, and then is this where the montage kicks in, Nathan?
It kicks in.
Fuck.
Start by making me some toast. Yeah, the montage kicks in. They go about their day. They're getting all gussied up. They put the rings on. They have their wedding kiss. I'm losing my mind.
This was hard for me to watch because like I'm like taking off my glasses. I'm wiping tears. I'm like trying to see what's going on, but like I'm freaking out because of the song, and I'm just it hit deep. Like this moment like broke me, and I haven't cried a lot watching TV shows or movies recently, but man, this moment when you do that song On the Nature of Daylight, it just peaks.
I wasn't as familiar with that song, so I didn't realize it was a reused track from many different projects. But yeah,
did you know it's from Arrival though? Did you catch that? Or?
No, because I only saw Arrival the one time a few years ago, so I'm due for a rewatch.
You want to make
right. It's the one thing I remember because of you.
Oh, no. My legacy.
Your legacy is Jeremy Renner. You would have done well in the app. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, they're going through, and I cry all the time. I don't remember crying this long and this hard in a while. Like every time it would just like slow down and be like, and then something else will come up and be like.
It was a lot. And then we get to the great dinner scene, a great parallel to their first meeting where he kicks the exact same meal Bill does.
He does.
Thank you for watching Geek. Geek also watches it. Nice. It's an excellent show. I agree. So yeah, a very great parallel to their first meal. They pour the wine. He has the bag and is ready. And this is when another twist happens that I should have expected but didn't see coming.
I would like to point out before we discuss that.
Yeah.
On like a rewatch, I noticed that like Bill waited for Frank to drink it first before he drank his, because fuck a Romeo Juliet situation, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Well, shit, Frank.
Call Joe.
Call Joe. It's too late.
Give him the battery.
Turn on the 80s song. Call Joe. Yeah, that'd be hilarious.
But yeah, it's like Frank takes notice about like the pill amount. On the wording was weird. It confused me. It
really confused me because I had to pause it and I'm like, wait, so
the bottle's full, but shouldn't it be empty from the?
Yeah. But then I paused. I'm like, okay. So yeah.
But in my brain, I was gearing up a thought of like, what if, because Bill does look quite old. What if he also goes with him? And lo and behold, but it hits all the same.
And Bill's line was great. I forget the line exactly, but he's like,
this isn't the tragic suicide at the end of the play.
Great.
He said, I'm old. I've lived my life. You were my reason. And
you're my purpose. Yeah.
My purpose. And it was a impressive point in the podcast that they were discussing. Like it seems like a lot of like stage plays associated homosexuality with tragedy in stories, and they didn't want it to just be like, oh, woe is me, the ill-fated situations. It was just like he went out on his own terms. They both did, which is probably the best anybody could have in the Last of Us world.
For sure. Exactly. Like, even though it is tragic in a sense, it's beautifully tragic. Where it's like
incredibly romantic.
This isn't like the kill my gays trope where it's like, oh, of course he would die at the end of the movie or whatever. It's like they went out on their own terms, and I like how they even recognize it by saying like this isn't a tragic ending. So yeah, you're right. It was fully well done and well written. And yeah, they went out. They go through the door, close the door, and that's the last we see of them. I'm so happy that we didn't see their bodies. Like it's locked when Joel gets there. It's like it's great.
Leaves in the note. He had his the music playing on auto repeat. For the warning. This was an interesting love story. This is actually similar to a movie I caught in 2021. A movie called Supernova.
Oh.
Which was starring Stanley Tucci and Colin Firth.
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah.
Basically, the story is Stanley Tucci has Alzheimer's, and it's degenerating his functionality and like awareness, and he doesn't want his love to see him deteriorate that way. So he also chooses to go out on his own terms.
Interesting. Yeah, I heard a great movie. I heard great things about that movie.
It's very good.
I assume so. But yeah, I think the last thing I want to touch on here, like Joel and Ellie have had kind of an interesting relationship so far. And this is kind of like the first act of the relationship in terms of like the tests of it all. Because it comes full circle when when Joel has Ellie read that note. And beforehand, he kind of already knows or thinks they're dead. The door to their bedroom is locked. He's like, they're dead, aren't they? And then Ellie's already reading the letter.
Yeah.
And he's like,
reading it along where it's not realizing that they're dead that gets him. It's when he looks at the letter and reads that Bill wants the best for Joel to be that protector for Tess when he couldn't. And that's when he has to step outside. Tells Ellie to stay there.
It's a reminder of his failure, saying like, protect the ones that are most to you. Like me and you are very similar people, Joel. We have our purposes, and God forbid anybody that comes in our way, basically.
It's very. There's like a weird catharsis happening with Joel's journey with Ellie, because ultimately Ellie is kind of like a big echoing reminder of all of Joel's failings, whether he couldn't save Sarah, which is reflected in the flash sequence in the first episode. This whole journey led to losing Tess, leading them over, who requested them to go to Bill and Frank, which then brought up the letter to remind of his failings yet again. But they have that camaraderie by the end of the episode where they're amusing, and Joel smiles for the first time at her for real.
For the first time, yeah. And even earlier on in the episode, they were talking about like what happened in the past, and she says, "Thank you for telling me all that." He's like, "Oh, okay." Like they're kind of getting closer and closer. But yeah, this moment where he says like, "Protect Tess," and not like, of course, he never met Ellie, so he wouldn't say Ellie, but it's just like, damn, it's a big gut punch to him because he failed. It's another reminder of his failures, like you said. But Joel, unbeknownst to himself, has found somebody else to protect in Ellie. And someone has come along. It's a new job for him. It's a new role, and he gives her a new set of rules. But I think he's eventually going to realize, like, oh, this is somebody I actually care for. And that care is going to be challenged and focused on when they get to a new environment in Pittsburgh, or well, in this show, it's going to be Kansas City. But so I'm very excited to see their relationship get challenged and focused on in that new kind of environment. Because so far it's all been like clickers or infected. But this new arc, I guess, the new second act of the show, because there's 3 episodes each. I'll consider this next 3 episodes to be a different act. Is all going to be about, okay, now Tess is gone. Joel's got a big reminder from Bill on being like, connect with the ones that you love, do everything you can to protect them, and God forbid anybody that comes in your way. It's kind of like the theme of the show and kind of foreshadows what might happen later on in the series for those that are unfamiliar with the game. But yeah, it's very interesting. And I love this letter from Bill because it's like exactly what the show is about. It's about love and the things you do to protect the things that you love. And again, even though Joel might not love Ellie yet, it's something that you can assume is going to happen later on. And it's something that's going to really impact him and change his life forever. But yeah, I'm excited to see, gearing up ahead, these more human characters. We've heard like the dangers of Fedra, what they did with Sarah, right? We heard about the Fireflies, good-ish people. And then there's just other survivors that we haven't really come across yet. But now we are. And that's when things get interesting because, just like The Witcher, like monsters are crazy, but humans can be even crazier sometimes.
Yeah, we're not keeping this truck.
Yeah, it's not here for long. But yeah, I'm very excited for next week's episode.
Smarter build though. Keep the battery in the fridge so they didn't so any raiders who went to go try to steal it couldn't.
Exactly.
Real quick, a little thing with Ellie, her mini arc that plays more into game 2 we talked about. She's activated.
Yeah.
She hops down in that cellar and was like sadistically cutting open that
Yeah, she's fascinated by it. Yeah.
Which was a really great effect of like seeing like the fungus underneath the skin. I don't know how they did it.
That was gross. But it was still red blood inside. Like, again, it goes into what she asked Joel, like, these are still humans. Does it still hurt when he kills them? And Joel's like, sometimes. I think Ellie's going to come to realize, like, there's a difference between killing a human and killing a clicker, like she did this week. And maybe that might come sooner than later.
It's funny. The way they're playing it up is, like, you would think they're setting up Ellie to be a big, like, psychological danger, which in a viewpoint she kind of can be in 2 based on certain points of view, but in the like they're like setting up like, oh, she's got Frank's gun now in this episode, but I think that's just going to play in the favor of the camaraderie between Joel and Ellie when we get to that sequence when she finally uses it.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're all good.
Yeah.
For
Great
right
stuff.
now. Good stuff. Good episode.
Great episode.
Our things are still on already. We're good.
But yeah, you guys can find me. Are we still live? Oh,
yes, we are.
You guys can still find me at Harris EV9, watching a lot of anime, TV, playing a lot of video games. I think I'm nearly finished with God of War Ragnarok. We'll see how far I get by the end of this weekend, but I'm loving that game so much. And this DC news was very exciting. So can't wait to watch the rest of The Last of Us, and we'll talk about episode 4 next week.
Absolutely. Hold on.
To get them out of the Boston Capitol building to get out of there. Yeah, that was episode 2 was super sad. And I like the change they did from the show to the game.
Very good stuff. Follow me at _TimeBlazer, making a show. Carson's still a part of that one. Thank God. As are we all. Very exciting, making moves, making. All right. That being said, yes, please, if you're still watching, still viewing, please check out our Hyperspace Hype episode coming up. Don't know an exact day we're going to tackle it. It really comes down to Carson's availability because it's the last availability we're going to be not contractually, but sticking with.
Last thoughts.
Leaning on. So yeah, be there for his final official episode, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Bye.